Hi, I'm Stephanie Rozzo. Welcome to Nature Sketch Create's Dark-eyed Junco step-by-step painting instructions video. In this video, I'll be showing you how to sketch the Dark-eyed Junco using Nature Sketch Create's step-by-step painting instructions. First, collect all your materials and make sure they're ready to go. Remember, this is just a sketch. Take your time, relax. Don't worry too much if you think you may have made a mistake. Let's get started. Step 1, transfer the image to the watercolor paper. So you want to tape the transfer image without covering any lines that you'll be transferring, so any image lines here, to the back of the watercolor paper. And press it down and open it up and place the graphite transfer paper. I have used this before. I can use it over and over. Dark side down, light side up, in between the watercolor paper and the transfer image. Press it down flat and go ahead and start transferring. Go ahead and transfer just a few lines. Lift it up and see if those lines are transferring. If you have this light side down, it will not transfer. And make sure you have the lines dark enough that you can see them. They don't have to be super dark, kind of a medium pressure. And you're going to go ahead and draw over those lines at the end with the micron pen. So it's nice to have them there, but they do not need to be too dark. Go ahead and go throughout and draw over all of these lines to transfer them. If you make mistakes like I just did on the beak, you can correct it, or you can just leave it as is. This is just a sketch. Go ahead and put on some music, just relax, maybe put on a podcast or an audiobook and transfer over all the image lines. I'm transferring over the common name and the scientific name. The common name, it's easiest to outline, and the scientific name, just go ahead and trace right over it. Go ahead and flip your image up and down a few times to check to see if you've added all of the lines. Again, if they're not 100% correct, that's okay. You can always correct them later, or if you miss any, you can add them later. I think I need to readjust the tail just a little bit. And I have a lot of lines that are just a little off here. Any mistake is a good mistake. Don't worry too much about it. Take your graphite transfer paper, set it to the side, and remove your transfer image from the back of the watercolor paper. Take the tape and set that to the side as well. You want to keep your transfer image to protect your painting, and then use your kneaded eraser just to remove any of these smudges that you might not want that were left behind from the graphite transfer paper. And you can also use it to lighten the lines if you want, just kind of lightly draw it, move it over, drawing it down and around over the image. And if it gets smudgy, just take it one way and then the other way, just lightly moving it over. And then you can move on to step 2. Step 2, paint in the wettest, lightest Junco yellow and Junco brown. So first, go ahead and mix the Junco yellow. Take 2 drops of the 26H chrome yellow. Shake it up to make sure that the paint is not settled at the bottom. It's kind of more 1 drop, 2 drops there. And then 1 drop of the raw sienna, 32H. Mix it up with a little bit of water added. And you can add water with your water brush by lightly squeezing on the barrel. And I'm going to paint a light wet Junco yellow A onto the beak. So I'm going to take a little bit of this paint to the side and add more water to it to make it light and wet. So you're adding water to it in the palette, not on the paper itself. It makes it less concentrated because it's more water and less paint pigment. Go ahead and put that on to the test strip, your little watercolor scrap paper. And that looks light enough to me. And I'm going to just take it and add it over the entire beak. And then I'll clean my brush off and mix the Junco brown. Junco brown, I want 32H raw sienna, 1 drop. And 1 drop of the 19H burnt sienna. Mix that up, adding just a little bit of water. Take a little bit to the side and add even more water to lighten it up, because we're going to want the wettest, lightest, least concentrated color. Adding water again to the palette, not on your paper. Dabbing it off onto your towel. Picking up a little bit more, dabbing it lightly onto the towel, and then onto your test paper. Looks good, so I'll pick up a little bit more, dab it off lightly on the towel, and apply it to the bird. Go ahead and add this color as you see in step 2. Once you've added all of the Junco brown, go ahead and move on to step 3. Make sure to clean your brush between colors. Step 3, paint in the wettest, lightest Junco pink and black. First, mix the Junco pink, 1 drop 19H burnt sienna. Shake that up to make sure it's all mixed up. Two drops of the 28H carmine. And 2 drops of the 26H chrome yellow. Add a little bit of water, not too much, and mix up that paint. We're going to use the wettest, lightest color. So when it has more water again, it's less concentrated, and so it will be wetter and lighter. Dab it onto your towel, pick a little bit more up, lightly onto your towel, and you're going to test strip. And that's still a bit dark. We'll be using F on the legs. So I'll take a little bit of this and to the side and add even more water to it. Dab it off onto my towel, pick up a little bit more, lightly dab it on the towel, test it on my paper. Looks good. Go ahead and add those to the legs and feet as you see in the image in step 3. If you get outside the lines, don't worry about that. It just makes your painting a little bit more interesting. Clean off your brush and then mix the Junco black. Always make sure to shake up the colors so that they are fully mixed and meet the full concentration. Take 1 drop 2 drops. And take a little bit of it, dab it off to the side, and add lots of water so that you have a few different areas of concentration, from darker to the lighter, wetter, and drier. So you're going to paint over the head, and you'll start with the eye, the wet light color, and add it over to this entire space. And then we'll be adding a little bit of the drier, darker color, the more concentrated color, to some of these darker areas while that color is still wet. So go ahead and you can test it on your test strip first, of course, and then apply it over the entire space around the eye. I like working top to bottom, left to right, but you can work a different direction if it's easier for you or makes more sense. So just apply that to the entire dark head area, like you're using pen or marker, crayon. Just fill it in. Pick up a little bit of that black, drier, darker concentrated color, and fill it in. This could be the fully concentrated color, and you'll see it kind of bleeds over because this is a wet on wet method. You want to get a little technical. It'll create a little bit of a gradient. Take it around the eye. And just kind of fill in those darker areas like you see in step 3's image. And don't try to control the paint too much. When you use this method, it kind of just goes where it wants to go a little bit. It's not super wet. This paper is not meant for a really, really wet technique, but it did still create a nice little gradient there, and a chance to add some more. See it kind of blending. And when you're done, let it dry and move on to step 4. Step 4, paint in the Junco gray, black, and yellow. So using the Junco gray, testing it out on our test strip again, I'm going to add it to the belly, and I'm going to use a slightly different method to create the gradient this time. So I'm going to add it in. I'm going to clean my brush off completely on my towel, and then take that damp, clean towel, kind of go over the belly area. And it wasn't quite wet enough this time. I'll pick up just a tiny bit more of that color and then add a little bit more. And then clean my brush off and make sure it's just the wet color, and then redo that gradient a little bit. And my painting always turns out different every time. There are always ways to make slight adjustments, or just leave it as is, making it a little bit more unique. And again, I'm going to pick up a little bit more of that Junco gray color, and I want this a little bit darker. It's a little light, so I'm going to add a little bit more paint in there, probably over the entire space, so I don't have any gradient edges there, any hard edges. Just a little bit more in there while it's wet, letting it kind of spread. And then taking the very, oops, it didn't go all the way down to the edge, so I'm going to pull it down there right now just by applying that gray color. I'll pull it down because it's still wet. And then again, I have the light eye gray color. I'm just adding eye just as it is in step 4. Next, I'm going to take some of the black color and making sure I have a fine tip on my brush. I'm going to go around that inner eye dot and then move my brush tip towards the edge a little bit, creating the little black area of the eye. If you prefer, you can use your black micron at the end instead. And then I'm also going to take the Junco yellow, and pick up a little bit of that, test it on my paper, and I'm going to add it to the nails. And once you're all done, you can let it dry and move on to step 5. Step 5, paint in a drier, darker Junco brown and pink. So use a slightly more concentrated color D. Test it on your test strip. A little darker than that. And dab it off onto your towel before applying it. Add it referring to the image step 5. And if you forgot or misplaced any paint, it's fine, it's going to make it unique, and you always have a chance to add some more. And I did miss a little bit of the gray on this feather here, so I added a little bit right now. Go ahead and take the G color, which is a drier, darker Junco pink. It's a little bit of a reddish color. Make sure to check it on your watercolor scrap paper before applying it. Pick it up again, dab it off onto the towel. Apply it referring to step 5 for reference. Make sure to dry your brush off. Clean it up a little bit on your towel. Let this dry and then move on to step 6. Step 6, paint final drier, darker color, shading throughout. I'm going to start with the Junco black on the head, and pretty much just go through and add a little bit more color as needed. I'm going to clean my brush off. I might add a little bit more of the red. Some beads. And go through and add a little bit more of the gray, wherever I think I might need it based on the image. last, I'm going to take a little bit of E and add that. You can test it on your color paper here first, your watercolor paper. Make sure you have a dry enough, dark enough color. I'm just going to add that in a few places, like I can see in the final reference and step 6. See one spot where I'd like to add a little bit more gray, right here. There is some gray reference image. And now that I've added all that paint, I like where it's at, and I'm going to let it dry and move on to step 7. Once the image is dry, go ahead and add the 005 black micron ink lines using your transfer image to protect your painting, or you can use it to refer to the lines, or just use your final reference image to refer to the lines where you make those. Go ahead and add some of these belly, side, and chest lines, lightly lined feathers. Don't worry too much about getting the lines exact. This is just a sketch. Outline the common name and write in the scientific name as well. When you're done with the 005 micron, go ahead and move on to the 01 micron. Use the 01 micron to write the scientific name. And then to draw all the remaining lines in the Junco. So again, you can refer to your final reference image or your transfer image, whatever is easiest for you, or even your image 7. And feel free to redraw or redefine the lines and the spaces as needed based on where your watercolor ink and some of your ink lines fell. Once you have all those lines filled in, go ahead and use the 08 micron to add any remaining lines and fill in the black areas a little bit more, and the common name. So I think we use this for around the eye here, around the beak, a bit. Some areas where it seems a little darker. If you feel like you need a little bit more paint at the end, you can also add that after adding the ink lines. I like how my painting looks, so I'm going to leave it like this. We're done. Great job. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you had fun, relaxed a little, and learned a little something. Next, you have some options what to do with this painting. You can punch holes in it and add it to your sketchbook. You can frame it, gift it, you can send it as a postcard, you can display it at your house. Lots of different things to do. Also, make sure to share it on our Facebook fan page. Check out the Nature Sketch Crate website to purchase future crates and sign up for our newsletter for future updates.